Back in April, a Miami private school made headlines for telling vaccinated teachers they were not welcome near students for fear that employees who'd gotten the shot would shed the virus onto others who hadn't.
In letters, the school called the vaccine experimental and claimed tens of thousands of women worldwide had adverse reproductive issues like miscarriages or irregular periods by just being near someone who was recently vaccinated.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Take on Fake. We talk a lot about misinformation and disinformation on this show, but today we're going to talk about what happens when there just isn't enough information. It's called a data deficit. I spoke with Lydia Morrish, a journalist for First Draft, who has tracked how a lack of information around women's health in general has led to widespread misinformation about the coronavirus vaccine. First, Lydia, I want to ask about this idea of a data deficit. What is it?
Data deficits are gaps in evidence or public knowledge and the lack of accurate, easily accessible information on a topic. This could be that a study didn't ask a certain question, a study hasn't been held, so things we just don't know in the public realm. And they create opportunities for misleading content to spread because it's kind of human nature to want to find answers.
One major data deficit is in women's health research. Women have historically been excluded from medical trials, and many female reproductive health issues just haven't been fully studied. This has led to unequal treatment of women by the medical field, and understandably, it's bred some distrust about the medical establishment. So, when the coronavirus vaccine became available, that distrust, combined with a lack of accessible information, made room for misinformation to gain traction online.
While monitoring misinformation around the vaccines and women's health, I came across this post, which I've archived here. You can see this is alarming and should mean that all mRNA vaccines are halted. This insanity has to stop. And this links to a story from the Daily Expose. It's about a Pfizer document that they allege confirms concerns that vaccinated people can shed particles to unvaccinated people and cause infertility, which is based on kind of two falsehoods really. One, the vaccine causes infertility. There is no proof of that, but also claims that you can shed, that it causes infertility in other people.
So what do you do to dispel this?
I went to what they say is the Pfizer report, which is here, and you can see they've used screenshots of the report, which they're saying is the evidence that they've confirmed shedding is a possibility. So I would click onto the trial, and here we see it's actually a real Pfizer document, and you can tell it's the real site because it's got the official Pfizer.com here. So this is the clinical protocol from November 2020 that they're saying it is.
So if I'm looking at that document and it says words like inhalation or skin contact, that makes me more scared, wondering, wait a minute, are the people that are making the vaccine even warning against this? But that's not what this document is.
No, it's essentially just laying out the protocol for what should be reported during the clinical trials. So if a pregnant woman is exposed to the vaccine, this should be reported. It doesn't mean that that's dangerous necessarily, it just means that that needs to be documented in the trial.
In fact, Pfizer released this statement to the Associated Press. The Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine does not contain any virus particles. The vaccine cannot be inhaled via shedding and can only enter the human body through an administered dose.
So what we see is that a study has been misunderstood by someone and really taken out of context to be misleading.
Lydia says this also means that studies and other medical information need to be made easily accessible to consumers, and that companies should try to pre-bunk any misinformation that might spread. So explain what pre-bunking is.
It's when health authorities or outlets will publish something that kind of answers questions before they're asked. We might have, will vaccines affect fertility? And if something like that was published before the vaccine rollout, people would already be equipped with the information they need before asking questions, and misinformation potentially plugging that gap.
So remember, sometimes a gap in available information is just that, and whether we like it or not, we'll have to wait for an answer. Until next time, don't spread fake news, keep it real. I'm Hari Srinivasan, and this is Take on Fake. Thanks for watching. Check us out on Instagram and YouTube for more fact checks, debunkings, and tips on how to tell the truth from fiction.